motion to adjourn finance?
I'll make a motion to adjourn Finance Committee.
All in favor? Oh, you get a second first.
I said
Oh, did you? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. So Miles, you ready to go yet? Hold on, okay.
Stand down here. Look really small.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call this January 24th, 2022 council meeting to order. If you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Coin.
Here.
Hare. Hazeltine. Lamb.
Here.
Rose.
Here.
Shields.
Here.
Simpson.
Here.
Reading of the minutes.
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields.
I move that the minutes of the regular meeting of January 10th, 2022 as prepared and submitted by the clerk be approved.
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? Will the clerk please call the roll on the approval of the minutes?
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Reports of standing committees. The Finance Committee met prior to the council meeting this evening, and we're going to meet in 2 weeks. Health, Safety, and Sanitation, Mr. Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had no meeting scheduled at this time, although I would like to sit down with the police chief, fire chief, and service director to schedule a meeting just to give us an update for the year of 2022, probably sometime in February or March. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Properties, Mr. Shields.
Thank you, Mr. President. No meeting scheduled, no report this evening.
Special Legislation, Mr. Lamb.
Thank you, Mr. President. No meeting scheduled, but I am working on an agenda for the feeding wild animals, and expect that by, I think, probably the second or third week in February, we can schedule that meeting if I can get it organized, and the speakers and the people we want to invite sometime around the second or third week in February.
Thank you. Streets and Sidewalks, Ms. Hare.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have nothing to report at this time.
Water and Utilities, Ms. Hale. Emerging Technologies, Mr. Rose.
Thank you, Mr. President. No meeting scheduled. However, there are 3 individuals who will be hopefully confirmed to the Emerging Technology Advisory Committee. And once they're confirmed, then we'll work on setting up a meeting for the first organizational meeting of the Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Request for council action. We have a few for finance. We have 22-9 expenditure over $15,000 Conway Data Inc. Economic Development. 22-10 expenditure to Lake County Sewer Street Department. 22-11 expenditure for Signal Service Company Street Department. 22-12 expenditure for Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company Sanitation Department. 22-13 authorization for Madonna Fiber to locate facilities on city-owned property. 22-14 FAA grant approvals, CARES Act and American Rescue Plan. And 22-15 approved task order number 6, Delta Airport Consultants. Reports of municipal officers. Mayor Hamwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had the Martin Luther King service on Monday, January 17th. Thank the public, and a number of council members attended. Council at Large Paul Rose and Bill Lamb, Ward 2 Councilman Denny Simpson, and Ward 4 Councilman Jim Shields, as well as Finance Director Keith Durham. Additionally, Municipal Court Judge Gary Warner and Juvenile Probate Judge Kevin Dunn attended, Sheriff Grice and Police Chief Kinney, Commissioner Bill Hudson, and then 2 of the Township Trustees, Sally Albrecht from Montville and Chuck Johnson from Medina Township, and Ohio State Representative Sharon Ray. The event was well attended both in person and offered virtually, and had a number of positive comments after the event. It was held at First Baptist on 18 there across from yours truly. We've had some snow lately. I think Nino may address as well, but I just wanted to thank the streets, parks, sanitation, and cemetery and forestry help for all coming together and clearing the snow. They started Sunday evening and worked through Tuesday, January 18th. We appreciate their efforts in working very long hours on those 3 days to keep the streets passable and safe. Tuesday through Thursday, those crews also use shovels to clear the areas around the crosswalk activation signals along North Court Street to assist our residents with physical challenges. Due to the large amounts of snow, Nino also dispatched smaller pickups to follow the large plow trucks and clear off driveway aprons so that the residents weren't burdened with having to move so much of that snow, in particular our elderly residents. And then Wednesday through Friday, we used a backhoe to clear access to the sidewalks in the neighborhoods surrounding our schools to permit the children to have safe access, because some of those piles were so high, whether you had a snow blower or whatever, it just couldn't be moved. So overall, it was handled very well. And last but not least, I'd respectfully ask the residents and businesses to clear the snow from their sidewalks for pedestrians and students walking to and from school, the library, and the rec center. A lot of our residential areas are still pretty well untouched as far as the sidewalks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Huber, Law Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have a report.
Thank you, Mr. Durham, Finance Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, a reminder, the city does have an income tax, and a reminder to residents, we anticipate that the filing deadline will be back to the usual this year. It's been delayed the last couple of years due to COVID. In addition, there's been a slight change. If you are working from home, when COVID started, the state passed a thing where you still paid tax where you normally work, and that expired with the end of, I believe, last year. So then you're starting now that you will be paying in where you're working. So if you're a resident working in Medina instead of Akron or Cleveland, wherever you normally work, you won't be paying tax in Akron or Cleveland, but you will be paying the full rate, not the credit rate here, because the credit is dependent on paying the tax somewhere else. Thank you.
Great. Chief Kinney, Police Department.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd also like to thank the Streets Department and the other departments involved in clearing the roads and the sidewalks. Their efforts assisted in minimizing the crashes, especially considering the amount of snow that we got this past week. It's quite a bit. So thank you to the Streets Department and the other departments involved. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Woodley, Parks and Recreation Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple updates. First, I wanted to thank Tina Sable for the last 2.5 years. She served on the Rec Center Advisory Committee as both the secretary and the chair. She resigned after our last meeting. Additionally, the Rec Center's new February brochure will be released on Thursday. Lots of new programs to get involved. And our rentals are now online on our website. To date, we have scheduled 15 of them, and it's going smoothly. So I thank council for helping us get that through so we could better serve the patrons. And lastly, the Parks Department, the last week and a half, introduced sledding under the lights at Reagan Park on social media. It also was pretty well attended. So much so that if the conditions are favorable, we're going to continue doing that on the weekends. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Percola, Service Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. As the mayor stated, Chief Kinney, everybody works well together, all the departments. The MLK storm was very challenging from the 16th and 17th because the high winds, the plows would go down the streets, and next thing you know, the wind would backfill them. It's like we were never there. We spent a lot of time with the PD that night. Pushing folks out. We had about 40 vehicles that were stuck in the roadways. So it's challenging enough to run the snow plows without vehicles in the way, but to have vehicles sideways in the middle of the road and take the time to plow in front of it, behind it, and push it. But I think folks understand for the most part. A lot of snow, short period of time, makes it difficult for snow placement. So we do the best we can. And as the mayor stated, we were trying to help some residents out with respect to cleaning out the driveways at the ends of the apron with the overwhelming amount of snow. So we had a few breakdowns. It wasn't perfect, but we do what we do to make things safe. So appreciate everyone's efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Walters, Fire Department.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a reminder for our residents regarding home fire safety. We've seen an above average number of residential structure fires last year, and we've already had 2 so far this year. So just a couple reminders. One regarding using portable heaters during the cold weather months to keep them at least 3 feet away from any other combustible items, and try not to leave them unattended. We have had a few fires that were related to the portable heaters. And then another reminder to not overload the electrical outlets, especially with things like portable heaters, electrical outlets and extension cords. And then, as always, make sure you've got working smoke detectors in your home. And if you're not already aware, the fire department has a Facebook page, the Medina Fire Department Facebook page. We post safety messages with additional information every Friday. It's Fire Safety Friday message, at least till he runs out of them anyway. So they can get information there, additional information on that, or by calling us directly at the fire station. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Patton, City Engineer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to notify some folks that live along West Smith Road in the area where we'll be doing our project next year. Our right-of-way acquisition consultant has started the acquisition process. So if you haven't already, you will be notified, first of all, in writing and then follow up with a phone call. The company's name is OR Colon, and they are working with the city. They can address any questions you have, but as always, if you feel more comfortable, feel free to contact us as well, and we'll answer anything you have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dutton, Planning and Community Development Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Thank you. We have confirmation of mayor's committee appointments. If there's no objection, I will do all 6 confirmations at the same time.
Mr. Coyne, if I may, present with us before you vote is Stephanie Mueller from the Uptown Park, or to be voted on for the Uptown Park Advisory Committee, and her husband Robert Mueller for the Emerging Technology Advisory Committee. And Mr. Kirby was here at the finance meeting as well, also for emerging technologies. We appreciate your willingness to serve.
And thanks for coming.
Yeah.
So we have Jeannie Pritchard, Cemetery Commission, to term expiring 12/31/23, filling a vacancy. Richard Melzer, Shade Tree Commission, for a term expiring 12/31/25. Stephanie Mueller, Uptown Park Advisory Committee, for a term expiring 12/31/24. Robert Mueller for Emerging Technologies Advisory Committee, for a term expiring 12/31/24. Ariel Bly, Emerging Technologies Advisory Committee, for a term expiring 12/31/24. And Rick Kirby, Emerging Technologies Committee, for a term expiring 12/31/24.
I'll make a motion to confirm the mayor's committee appointments.
Second.
Any discussion on the committee appointments? Will clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the mayor's committee appointments?
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
We have one confirmation of council appointment. That's Jessica Hazeltine, Madonna County Planning Commission, for a term expiring 12/31/22.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll on the confirmation of council's appointment?
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Notice of communication petitions, there's none. Unfinished business, we have none. Introduction of visitors. Members of the public will be permitted the opportunity to speak on any issue or concern which pertains to the city during a portion of the council agenda devoted to introduction of visitors. All comments should be directed to the chair, and a reasonable time limit of approximately 5 minutes will be imposed. If there's a group, please appoint a spokesperson. Speakers should approach the rear microphone and state their name and address so it can be entered into the minutes. Members of the public will be afforded the opportunity to comment on other portions of the meeting as determined by the chair or by a vote of the majority of council members present. Is there anybody that wishes to address council at this time? Okay. Introduction and consideration of ordinances and resolutions. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings on the following ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance 1022, Ordinance 1122, Ordinance 1222, and Ordinance 1322.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings of tonight's ordinances and resolutions.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion to suspend the rules? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the motion to suspend the rules?
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Ordinance 1022, an ordinance authorizing the payment of Software Solutions, Inc., SSI, for an annual support services for the city VIP professional accounting system.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Durham.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is for 1 year, running from March 1st through February 28th of next year. It's a couple $1,000s more than it was last year.
Any further discussion or comment? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Ordinance 1022 passes 6-0.
Ordinance 1122, an authorizing the mayor to execute a memorandum of understanding between the Ohio Patrolman Benevolent Association, OPBA, and the city of Medina to establish a temporary 12-hour work shifts for the members of the police department.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields?
the emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it this time.
My second includes the emergency clause?
Discussion on the emergency clause or the ordinance. Chief Kinney.
Thank you, Mr. President. As indicated in the ordinance, this is for a 6-month trial period for the patrol officers and the patrol sergeants to enter into an agreement with the mayor for a 12-hour shift period. The emergency clause is requested. They want to begin this trial period on February 13th at the beginning of the pay period.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comment on either the emergency clause and or the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the emergency clause?
Coin.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Ordinance 1122 passes 6-0.
Ordinance 1222, an ordinance authorizing the expenditure to Central Square Technologies for the subscription and annual maintenance agreement for the computer-aided dispatch and report management system for the police department.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion. Chief Kinney.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the maintenance contract for our main computer system at the police department for our computer-aided dispatch and our reports management system.
Any further discussion or comment? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Ordinance 1222 passes 6-0.
Ordinance 1322, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute the approval letter for the expenditure to Musco Sports Lighting LLC for the Reagan Park Field Number 4 lighting project.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields?
the emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it this time.
My second includes the emergency clause?
Discussion on the emergency clause and the ordinance. Mr. Worley.
Thank you, Mr. President. This project is to install new LED athletic field lighting at Reagan Park on Field 4, which is our oldest lighting system. This purchase will be utilizing the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Program and American Rescue Plan Act funding. The emergency clause is requested because we'd like to get this done before baseball season starts, and the typical lead time for equipment is 10 to 12 weeks without supply chain issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the emergency clause and or the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the emergency clause?
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Ordinance 1322 passes 7-0.
Council comments. Mr. Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple things. I just want to reiterate what the mayor and police chief said. I hope the residents understand the difficulty in keeping our roads maintained, not only during the snow emergencies, but during the year itself. Keep in mind, we have 99 miles of roadway in our city. And I just want to compliment the staff from the service department and all the other departments that helped out. It's not an easy job. I know people get frustrated, but just keep in mind they're doing the best that they can, and they got a lot of roads to maintain. Secondly, I'd just like to the mayor mentioned the Martin Luther King celebration on the 17th. My wife and I were fortunate enough to be able to attend, and I just you know, for those of you that were there, you'd know, but for the community in large that was not there or maybe didn't have the opportunity to watch it online, the mayor was our keynote speaker this year and did a phenomenal job. And I'm not blowing smoke here. He just really did a phenomenal job. I didn't talk to anybody that was in attendance that didn't get a good laugh during his presentation, and a lot of good history, and not only about Martin Luther King and his visions, but the city of Medina and the visions that not only the mayor, but all of our department heads have in making our community just a phenomenal place to live. So thank you, Mayor. Thank you, department heads. Be safe out there, and remember to be kind to each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other additional council comments? Mr. Rose.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too want to extend the thanks and congratulations on keeping the streets as open as physically possible. A lot of compliments, 1 or 2 complaints, so take the compliments and we'll go from there. And to tie into Chief Walter's safety comments, one of my pet peeves for years, keep your fire hydrants clean. When you have this high amount of snow, have make sure that you have the fire hydrants clear so the fire department, God forbid they should have to use it, can find it quickly. Thank you.
Mr. Lamb.
Well, I really was going to say what Denny said. So thanks, Denny. You know, I thought this was a great compliment about the mayor, and compliments to the service department, recreation, Parks and Recreation Department, and everybody who coordinates their efforts to deal with the snow, which is nature working, and so sometimes it takes a little bit longer to clean up those things, but we do an excellent job. I mean, you know the commitment is there, and you can be proud of that. And I also want to thank, both of you are here tonight that got appointed to committees, Paul's committee and the Uptown Park Committee, and thank you for that, because there's a lot of committees and commissions in the city, and it is amazing. Sometimes it's difficult to find people that are willing to give time to those committees and commissions, but each and every one of them matter and are important to the function of the city, and that participation greatly helps in decisions that are made and the work that needs to be done. And that volunteer effort does not go unnoticed, and it is very much appreciated. So thank you for accepting those positions and being willing to work with everyone here so that we can continue to make this the great community we all know it is, and America's hometown, right? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council comments? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned.
I think that was a record. I mean, that's got to be